that you explore potentially in lab to market. And yes, James, we do have KPIs and stats. So we have them for Alberta. So we've had 31 participants in year one, but for the whole program, I didn't include a slide on the 5 years of lab to market across the country yet, because we're still compiling those stats based on some program delivery this spring. I probably should have, but I took that slide out because I don't have exact data, but I can get that to you. Okay, so yeah, like we are now in the question portion, so please feel free to put something in the chat or go ahead and raise
I
your
see a
hand and come off
question
mute.
from Kasim. Uh, any programs such as L2M for early entrepreneurs? I'm not sure I understand. This program is for early entrepreneurs. Although I understand you're also the person that asked the question about research associates. So I'm not aware of any programs for the research associate side. You probably, if you don't fit L2M, you might be best to search Edmonton Unlimited and ask them for help. See what kind of resources are out there in the community.
There's also some fantastic programs at the U of A. There's the ICE incubator, and
Yes.
there are also fantastic programs at University of Calgary, and at University of Lethbridge you can connect with the Agility office. So there are definitely campus-based programs at the you know
Yeah.
at the institutions, and then in the cities there are also innovation authorities that run programming for early stage entrepreneurs. So Ashif has a question here. Does the project have to be in the same area as the lab you're working on in a PhD student, or can it be in a different field? So lab to market is designed so that you're working with your academic supervisor or the PI on a project that's funded through that PI's lab. And so, yes, it does need to be a project from that lab. It's not designed to support individuals working on some kind of a project, and they're also a student, and the project is their kind of side project. So it's not designed for that. It's designed for research emerging from post-secondary institutions, and the support is around that framework. Can the L2M funding be used as matching funding for another research grant proposal? No, the L2M funding is a stipend. So, I mean, I guess it's sort of like income to you, and how you use it. I'm not sure. Eric, do you want to speak to that from a MyTax perspective, since it's a MyTax stipend?
Sorry, just taking a look at the question again. Now to once it's paid out to you, it's paid out to the student. So it's 10K. It's paid out as a salary award to the student on the award. So I don't know how you would use that as a matching grant or anything like that, unless a student was applying for some entrepreneurship grant that might exist from some organization in government, right? And just say that they've won this award, but it's treated like salary, so I'm not sure how you would use it as a matching grant.
And I should maybe mention it is the case that other sources of graduate funding are it's sort of typically deducted the amount that's equivalent to the L2M award. So it's not generally a supplement, just for awareness. James. We don't get into a lot of, so Lab to Market is a pan-provincial program, and we work with research teams from any post-secondary in Alberta that meet the criteria. So we don't get into a lot of really specific institutional things. So we run a workshop so that everyone has a basic, it's sort of a 1 hour workshop. Everyone has a basic understanding of IP. And then really for IP matters specific to them and their projects, they should engage with their tech transfer office at that institution where they're located. So we don't really get into that. We're just really focused on, we don't evaluate applicants for the status of their IP protection. Like it's not expected that they've taken those steps yet. So it's kind of like a separate piece. For later programs, there's definitely more of an expectation that there's some kind of IP and steps have been taken for protection. But at the lab to market, this validate stage, it's not a requirement. So yeah. Any other questions? I'm just looking back to make sure we didn't. Okay, so there were some. So Simra was wondering, as an undergraduate student, what other research opportunities are there? Yeah, I really regret that it doesn't include undergraduates, but what institution are you at, Simra? There's some great programs that are directed towards undergrads. Like at the U of A, there's eHub and the Faculty of Science Student Innovation Center, and those are really targeted towards undergrads. So there are programs.
And at U of C through Hunter Hub, there's some undergrad programs as well.
Fantastic. And unfortunately, Luke from University of Lethbridge wasn't able to join today, but if you're at Lethbridge, definitely connect with the Agility office. They do a ton to support their students. Yes, we are planning to have access to the recorded video. The plan is to get that set up and shared. So we'll after the session, I will send out a deck to everyone that registered, and we'll also make the recording available. Can the grad student use the funding for IP protection? So you will receive it as income and you can use it. We have encouraged people to use the funding to go to conferences because that is a great way to expand your network as a lab to market participant, and engage with stakeholders. And so definitely things like conference registration and travel. If you want to use it for IP protection, you certainly can. You're getting that 10K to use according to your own decisions. If you're selected, should I completely stop my lab work? That's a great question. So no, you do need to be able to step away from it in a significant way. So you wouldn't want to do the program and be still very heavily involved in your lab. You would want to be able to step away because it's a very intensive program, especially in those middle 2 months, but also leading up to it, you want to be really preparing yourself well to be able to do that customer discovery. And so we say expect to be full-time, sort of 30 to 40 hours per week working on lab to market to really be effective. And the participants that still have a lot of responsibilities in the lab work, they they just struggle, and it's a missed opportunity, and it's disappointing for the program team because there's a lot of resources that go into lab to market. So there's small cohorts of 20. We have 3 facilitators who are outstanding that we engage from the private sector, and they run small group sessions, and there's one-on-ones with them, and then we do a warm introduction to a mentor. And so the participants are really supported. And so if they haven't made the time, if they haven't had those conversations about stepping away from the lab work, they're just kind of missing out, and they're kind of also taking the spot from somebody who maybe would have made the most of that opportunity. So we do try to select participants that can step away, right? That are going to prioritize the lab to market opportunity. This looks like a great question. Can I use the data gained through the program in the thesis report grant applications in the future? So what you're going to be gaining from lab to market is market insight. So you're not going to be doing research in the academic sense. And so participants that want to approach their customer discovery as as research, it just does not fit. And so certainly the benefit of lab to market is it can influence your research directions. Like you might learn, oh, something that I thought was really important. It turns out actually when I engage with industry that they're telling me that's a kind of a minor problem compared to like XYZ. And then you want to maybe switch so that you're focusing more on that. And so that's really where the insights that you're gaining can influence your research direction, but you can't gather data in a systematic way in lab to market. Like you're going to be, as you interview somebody, it's going to inform your thinking, and then you're going to go down different paths with your thinking. It's just not systematic in a kind of traditional research way. And Aiden and Sabina, feel free, and Eric to jump in as well here. Is there an individual mentor for each participant? Yes, there is. So it's a warm introduction to a single mentor working with a single participant. And then the facilitators, those are the people that so the mentors are volunteers from the community. And so that part's one-on-one. And then the facilitators, there's one-on-one and the group work, small group work. Oh, thanks, Aiden. Oh, that's a great question, James. And actually, I don't think we really mentioned that, or I didn't mention that at the beginning. So it's a sector agnostic program. And in earlier years in Lab to Market, it was really focused on STEM. And now with the new funding that we have, the 5 years of funding, it's Tri-Council funded, not just NSERC. And so we're not limiting it to STEM. And so we typically have had STEM in the last two. We did have some people we had 2 non-STEM participants. So it's certainly something that we're open to. We've had quite a lot of health participants